Hello and welcome. This is John Mason. I'm the facilitator of Masters of the Journey. Today, we're going to have a special guest talking about a very important life experience that she's had and the direction that her life and professional life is moving with that. We're going to be talking with Denise Anderson. And Denise Anderson has worked as a life coach since 2008. She's had a private practice working with clients, helping them to work through various challenges and changes they face. It often entails the unraveling of negative beliefs and conditioned patterns. Denise has also facilitated group sessions throughout her province in Canada. She's Canadian, and relishes the opportunity to speak at public events. Denise has operated a private flotation center where she was able to assist people with the experience of letting go of their identity to form. The book she is currently working on is an extension of this work and is inspired by a succession of experiences Denise has had and conversations that she has shared with her father during his recent final transition. Her passion is to help people go beyond form so that they can experience their true nature, their true self. So I'm going to welcome Denise after I've read through that material, because I know that there's been a very special experience and change in relationship that you've had over at least the last 8 months that I know of, about helping your father with his final transition. And my understanding is that he very recently passed, and I want you to welcome you to this interview. But as we go through this, I would really like to hear the story, especially the significant impact and learning that you've had from it. So welcome, Denise. How are you today?
Hi, John. I am doing great, despite the fact that it's very cold here today in this province of Saskatchewan where I live. But despite that, I'm having a really great day, and thank you so much for that introduction. I think where I would like to start, John, is probably about 14 or 15 months ago when my father, Frank, was actually diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. He was 81 at the time, and of course, it always comes as a surprise, even though, you know, he was a smoker and different things were going on in his life. It's still a surprise when that news is delivered that, you know, you're at stage 4, there's really nothing more medically that can be done. The interesting thing that took place right in that moment that struck me right away was within a matter of minutes of receiving this news, the words that my father uttered that would actually go on to be part of the legacy that I feel he has left behind for his family and loved ones. The words he uttered was, "I want to show my family how to die a brave death." And these words really, really struck me. Now, of course, at the time, I don't even think he knew what that meant or what that entailed or what that would look like. But yeah, that started our journey right from that moment of his transition and really becoming comfortable with the idea and with the concept and with the reality of dying. And so, yeah, I was down to stay with my mother and father quite often, taking care of my dad, different needs that came up along in the process. But what I was so blessed to have was very open and brutally honest conversations with my father about dying and how he felt, how he was processing it, and actually experiencing along with him what he was letting go of and what was actually dying. Because what I witnessed through this process was that he was not only physically passing away, but a lot of ideas, beliefs that he once had, how he thought the world worked, what he held on to believe to be true, and also just his physical identity was dying as well. So yeah, there was so much there to experience.
So there is so much here. This is such a rich conversation, and an experience that I know you're you're using not just personally, but you want to share with the world. But when we were kind of talking about this interview, I just want to throw out there that, like any parent-child relationship, there must have been some interesting things that have happened to you through the years, and maybe some stuff that you needed to resolve. And can you just share some of that with us? Because we've all had these, or most of us have had these relationships, and I'd love to get your point of view on that.
Yeah. No, thank you for bringing that up, because, to say it in short form, there was a lot. There was a lot to deal with and to unravel and heal between the relationship with my father and I. We all have things that we've done and experienced. My father did not hide the fact that he had an addictive behavior. He was an alcoholic for many, many years. So growing up, I experienced that like a lot of other people, the dynamics of living with an alcoholic, and then the patterns and the conditions that get created from that experience, the enabling, how I see the world, all of that got formed within that time. So of course, I held a lot of resentment towards my dad about that particular thing. And of course, there was others, right? He had a certain way of seeing the world that I did not agree with. We butt heads a lot. And there was actually a time that I can honestly say that I hated my dad. And I actually told him, I used those words. I told him that I hated him, what he stood for. I hated him for hurting me and for some things that he had done in his life. And I can honestly say there was a point in my life that I believed I would never, ever forgive him or be able to move past the hurt and the pain and the resentment that I had towards him. I started a spiritual journey. I started working with someone out of India, doing some meditations. And, what was shared with me is the importance and what could actually come out of healing this parent-child relationship. I really had no idea where to begin and what to start with. So I just started being honest with him. I started the conversation by sharing with him the feelings, the thoughts, and the hurt that I had inside of me, not expecting him to be able to take that away, but I knew that it was important to actually speak about it. And so we started a journey of healing our relationship through brutally open and honest conversations, finding forgiveness, having better understanding of what he went through in his life. Of course, this never, in my eyes, gives anybody permission or makes it okay that things have happened, but it does give some sort of context to the behavior for my brain to actually be able to understand what was happening. So throughout that process, I came to a place where I better understood my father. I better understood behavior. And I got to a place where I was actually able to forgive him, which was really, even though that was like a long process and a difficult process, it was also just the beginning of the process, because then we could actually see one another for who we really were. I was no longer interacting with my father based on the way I used to see him. So I was seeing him in a completely different light, in a way that I've never been able to see my father before. So then I was more open to what he was sharing with me. I came to realize that my father had a great deal of wisdom to share because he'd been through a lot. He had really worked through a lot of stuff. So I made myself available to that wisdom. And I can honestly say, experiencing an unconditional love between my father and I for the very, very first time, and something that I thought was literally impossible, that I would never get to experience with him. So got to this place of unconditional love, and then going through the process of his transition, physically passing, that unconditional love actually grew in immensity because of sharing that experience together. So just when you think, you felt a lot, I just don't think there's any end to the amount of love and to the degree that we feel, which is quite exciting.
Well, your story is amazing, and it's surprisingly common also. It seems like a lot of us have unfinished business with our loved ones, our parents, our siblings, our spouses, our children, whatever. And the lesson that you've learned about first forgiveness and then unconditional love is universally important. And that's spectacular. And I want to thank you for sharing that. It seems to me like one of the things that happens even in our day-to-day stuff when we see people that we don't really like or understand, we tend to switch off, get upset. They trigger us, they push our buttons. And instead of making them bad, sometimes a better question is, why did that push my buttons, and what happened to that person to make them who they are? What is there to learn from that? And can I really then not only forgive them, but love them as the perfect, imperfect person that they are? So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like what you said, because what I actually did was, rather than putting the focus on my father and what he did and how I felt he hurt me, I did ask myself that question. Why am I being triggered? What is it inside of me that is making me feel this way, that makes me react and respond to him in this way? And that opened up, a wellspring of emotion, because prior to that question, everything was put onto my father. It was his fault. It was him creating this inside of me. So really, I felt like it was really him causing me this pain, when actually I looked inside and did my inner work and realized that this was actually coming from me, and things that had gone on for me, and beliefs that I had, and whatnot. So it's such an important question, John, to ask yourself, like, what is this about for me? Why is this triggering me? And it allows you to feel those feelings and then actually start doing your work, because until you're able to actually take that question inward and you stop projecting outwardly, there won't be a lot of progression made. And another very important thing that I learned was, thankfully, my father and I had resolved all of our issues, right? There was nothing left unsaid, nothing left undone. So, of course, on someone's deathbed, there's yet another opportunity for that to happen, for you to resolve issues, for all to be forgiven, which is still a blessing. And my whole thing is, why would you wait? Why wouldn't you want to live the rest of your remaining life with an open heart that's full of love and forgiveness, and for that person and for you to be able to experience that kind of physical relationship here on earth, which is what I feel we're here to do and to really work through. So again, yes, the deathbed moment is an opportunity, but what I'm really passionate about is it happening before that moment, and what that can mean for your life and so many other people's lives when that's letting go of, and that conversation has been had. Again, it's hard to put into words, because it changes everything about your life. It's not like you have to work on any, all the particular different things in your life. When that happens and there's an opening of the heart, it opens your heart, and it opens up in every area of your life, which was amazing. So amazing.
So this isn't just a deathbed learning process. This would be important for anyone in relationship who has some baggage, some unfinished business. And so, again, it's a blessing that you're here to tell us about that and to share your story. And the thing that I really want to get to as a highlight of this interview is the feeling, the emotions as your father was transitioning. And I'm prepared, because we've talked a little bit about that, to see what the real takeaway as far as emotion and consciousness, insight that you gathered from that. Can you share some of that?
Yes, I would be happy to. So obviously there was a lot of different emotions at different stages of his transition. Probably I'll start with a deep sadness, with the realization that this was actually happening, that he was going to be passing, and that my father would no longer be with me physically. So it definitely started off with a lot of sadness and a lot of grief that I had to work through, and that I did express with my dad. I just want to interject here saying, and I believe that this is part of what my book is going to be about. At the time of my father experiencing a physical death, I was experiencing a death at the same time. So obviously it wasn't a physical death, but I felt like something inside of me was dying as well. I was letting go of an attachment to form, an attachment to ego, being identified with my beliefs and thoughts. It's like it was dropping away from me with each stages of my father's physical death. I was at the same time experiencing the letting go and the dying and the death of things that I no longer needed to hold on to. So that was an amazing experience in and of itself. And I'm going to try and find the words to express that in a book. So we'll see how that goes. So beyond the grief was, the closer he got to his physical passing, he began sharing with me what he was experiencing. So things like, at one time he said, I believed that I knew exactly what would happen when I passed. And he started to question that. He's like, I am questioning everything I ever believed to be true, because the truth now for me in this moment is I don't know. I don't know that truth. I don't really know. And then he became scared. He was really scared of making that transition. And I said, he did describe to me that he had gotten close to that moment, and then he couldn't really actually let go and allow himself to die. And I asked him what held him back. And he said, basically the fear of the unknown. He went his whole life believing a certain thing, and then it all came into question at that moment. So he really feared the unknown, which again, simultaneously allowed me to feel that fear of the unknown, things that I hold on to be as the absolute truth is probably not necessarily true. So again, came into a feeling of fear of the unknown. And then there was this complete and utter acceptance of the unknown. So it was like all fear dying inside of me, being able to face anything, that literally all fear was gone, which then lended itself to an incredible peace that I have never ever known. And so at the time of his passing, within moments of taking his last breath, I felt the peace that was inside of him. I was filled with that peace. The room became filled with that. And then it just felt like there was literally peace on all of earth. And that is the feeling that has not left me. It's a feeling that I feel isn't going anywhere. I'm experiencing on a daily basis the lack of fear. An example would be this interview. Normally, before, I would be very nervous. I may have canceled the interview. I wouldn't have felt prepared. And that just doesn't seem to be the case anymore at all. It's once you can face death and the fear of that, there isn't too much there holding you back. And I feel more like my true nature than ever before.
I use this word a lot, but it's true. This is a blessing, that the lesson of the experience, his passing was really important for you. And a lesson that you learned is one that you want to share and give to a lot of other people. Once the door is open as far as removing the fear and the anxiety about death, because there is a peace that pervades, a grace that is there, a freedom and an unconditional wisdom, and of course unconditional love that might surround that. you know, once we know that, we can't get the genie back in the box. It causes us to live differently. And you were witness to that, and now it's changed you. And can not I have so many questions, but I want to turn that back over to you and say, um, is this a feeling that you're going to hold on to and try to share?
Great question. And the experience is I don't even feel like I have to let go of it. It's not something I'm holding on to. It feels like the truth of who I am. It feels like more of my natural state. It almost feels like this is maybe how I was meant to naturally feel, that the way I felt before was untrue and unnatural to this feeling. So I don't feel like there's going to be anything that I have to do to try and hang on to it. I feel like it's a part of who I am, and it will be a natural expression of who I am. I guess I don't really know how else to put that into words. It's a feeling and an experience that is beyond confidence. It's beyond, I almost have come to experience those words, which I believe confidence and all of that is important, but this is even beyond confidence, because confidence seems more around like the ego, like Denise needs to be confident. It's whatever this is what is actually, again, for lack of better words, my true nature. And so it's just easy. Yeah, it's just easy.
You know, had you known about this? Had you read about it or heard about this? Or was this sort of like a spontaneous thing that came up kind of unexpectedly for you?
Well, because of my prior experience with some of the work that I've done with the flotation tank, I floated nearly 200 times myself and have had experiences where you kind of reach the edge, and of course inside of a flotation tank you lose all sense of who you think you are. You lose your physical form, your visual, your hearing, and then you end up getting taken into this other realm that doesn't involve the physical form. So yes, the answer to your question is yes. I have had personal prior experience to something like this before through meditation, the flotation tank, and the spiritual work and self-help work that I've done. However, I can't say that I was fully prepared for this experience. I kind of went into it quite innocently, just thinking, oh, I'll help my dad. He's passing, he's sick, he needs some help with personal care. I'll be there to talk to him about certain things. It went completely beyond anything that I would have imagined. Now, I do believe that my prior experiences helped me and helped me to be able to support my dad in this process, which was really important to me. But I learned even more. I grew even more. And it's been a completely life-changing experience. I cannot see the world the same. Like I don't. I'm experiencing every single moment differently. And it's not like, when something traumatic happens and people think you're like just in a state of shock, you're in a state of denial or grief. That's not this experience. My dad lived a very full life. He was fully acceptance of his death. So I'm not gripped with that grief. It is literally something completely different than that. And having this type of profound experience, I really just want others to be able to have this same experience and to be able to experience life from this place. And I believe that's absolutely possible. I would not want people to have to wait till their physical death to experience that. And that is why I am passionate and really excited to share ways that people, I don't know, for lack of better words, I feel compelled to use the word die, like helping people to die before they die. Not only are you letting go of the fear of death, but you're letting go of everything. Every moment is an opportunity to die, which means let go of your anger, let go of resentments, let go of your ego, let go of beliefs. I mean, there's a list. I mean, letting go of everything that you feel defines you, so that you actually, and here's the other important thing, John, because I've had this discussion with so many people and they want it put into words. They want to be able to understand this, but here's the thing I really want to emphasize is that this is not something that you understand with your mind. It is a direct experience. It is a direct experience of this feeling. It's a direct experience of what it is to let go. Because I know we flap that word out, forgiveness. We'll just forgive somebody. You kind of, okay, I know you hurt me, so it's okay. That is like a surface level of forgiveness. When you have a direct experience of something, you know it as truth, and you don't ever feel you need to defend it. You need to argue against it, because either you are talking to somebody who is interested in having that direct experience, somebody who has already had that direct experience, or somebody who's not ready at this point in time to go into that experience, and they're keeping it on an intellectual level. So anybody who's wanting to keep it on that intellectual level, that's not the experience. That's not it. And so it's tricky because I'm trying to use words to point to the experience, which is all we can really do. I can't give anybody this experience, but I can use this experience and I can use words to point to the experience. So people really need to keep that in mind.
No, I want to back up just a minute, but you're on a really good track right now with telling people that it's very hard to put enlightenment into words. But we all have it within us, and sometimes it just bursts out and we're changed because we have. Some of the people that are going to be viewing this are people who have suffered a loss of somebody that they love and they care about, and they get stuck in the vacuum of the loss. And how do you replace the love, or how do you replace whatever that person was in your life? And what I'm hearing from you is that great, my father has passed, he's in a better place. But what I take away from the experience that we shared is part of what I'm supposed to be carrying forward. I had this experience for a reason. I need to share the experience and whatever wisdom that I have not learned just intellectually, but felt emotionally and now know. What can I do with this experience to be positive and to be of service as I move forward? And if you can speak just a little bit more about that and the writing and the book that you're working on at this point, that would be helpful to me. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So one of the questions I asked my dad was there anything in your life that you wished you had done that you didn't get completed, that you just didn't get to? And the only thing he said was writing a book. He said, I wish I'd written a book. I wish I was able to put into words and articulate my experiences that I've had. And so there was a moment, a very intimate moment that I shared with my dad, very emotional. I made a pledge and I made a vow that I would write a book in my father's honor. Of course, I had no idea until after his passing what types of things it would entail. And I still don't know the full course of that the book is going to take. I am getting a great sense, though, of it. And so obviously I made this promise to my dad that I would write this book. So, what can you tell me again? So what is your question? What is it that you wanted me to share again?
Coming out of this experience, I think we ask ourselves, why do we go through challenge? Why do we go through failure? Why do we go through pain? Why do we create our own suffering? Well, if there is wisdom and a learning that comes out of that, we may find that that is the point of it all, so that we can then share and tell other people. And I was asking if your writing in your book is designed to fill that gap or fill that need to share your experience so that you can enhance the perspective of the reader or the viewers, so that they can either learn how to do it more gracefully if they're going through that, or perhaps open a door for them to examine or to check out how it fits into their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but so without a doubt and absolutely, yes. Again, going into this process with my dad, I had no intention of writing this type of book. It literally is being born out of this experience. And, you know, I remember sharing another moment with my father, and as he was looking, you know, reviewing his life, things that had happened, things that he had done, things that had been done to him. And he looked at me and he said, "Oh my God, it all makes sense." And I'm going to paraphrase him right now, but it was something like, I did not grow into the type of person that I am with these characteristics or having the wisdom, you know, that comes to me in spite of the things that I did or experienced. It was because of them. And I found that so profound. And I believe that that's what you are speaking about. It is the challenges. It is those hurts. It is those experiences in life that drop us to our knees, lots of times literally. You know, I've found myself lying out on the floor many times throughout my life. But it's rising back up from those challenges, and what you learn, what you experience, you become a different person. You see the world differently, and you're able to share that experience in a really profound way because you've experienced, and that experience has changed you. So without a doubt, John, there was no accident that I was by my father's side when he passed. I saw him take his last breath. I was there in that moment. And here's the great thing. Sometimes our mind wants to try to figure out, what is this all about? What am I supposed to do about it? When I get out of the way, when I don't listen just to the mind's ramblings, and I really just sit with the experience, I was actually shown. I know that kind of sounds a little bit cliche, but it was just kind of revealed to me what the next step was. And although I am going to have to be making some big changes in my life in order to do this work and move forward in this way, because I see so clearly that it's the next step and what I'm meant to be doing, and it's falling into place. Even just meeting you, John, and having these conversations and the opportunity to do this interview with you, this is all things that have become available to me since taking on this project. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm up for the challenge. And again, even just writing this book is going to change me, right? It's going to be yet another process, and whatever else is still there to let go of or step into, I'm going to be given that opportunity. And so I now look at challenges. I can't say that I get excited about challenges, but I just have a different perspective of challenges, because it's like I'm going through this obstacle course, and at the end of it, I will not be the same person. It's like going to the gym, it's like anything, going through any sort of either physical, mental process, you are just not the same afterwards. And so, you know, anybody listening out there, I would want them to hold on to that whatever you're going through, whatever challenge or adversity that you're experiencing, there really is something so beautiful and so amazing on the other side. And I know, you know, I recently ran a marathon several months ago. So no, when, you know, you're 3/4 of the way through the marathon, you don't really want somebody beeping in your ear saying, "Oh my God, it's going to be so great at the finish line." You know, it's just like, yeah, but right now I'm going through a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, and I want it to be over right now. But if you can learn to relish every single moment, every single step of the way, it just makes crossing that finish line that much more euphoric. And then you just know that even though you cross that finish line, you just start another journey. So there's really, I don't think there really is a finish line that we cross. I had a great conversation with my son last night, and he said, I think the process it's a never ending process. And when you can wrap your mind around that, It's a never ending process. And I don't think that's something to be sad about or depressed about. We're just in process, and we're elevating ourselves to higher states of being, a higher vibration, higher amounts of grace and light and experiences of love. That's exciting. So when you know that that is what is possible for you at the end of a challenge, or when you come through something, because the mind is going to want to know, right? The distension that we feel when we're going through something is, what is this all for? What does it mean? Why do I have to experience it? When you know innately that it is freeing up something inside of you, so you are able to feel more love and more light and more elevated emotion. I mean, who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want that? So if that comes through adversity and challenges, I say, bring it on. Bring it on. I want that, because I feel like I've only just begun. And the amount of whatever it is that I'm feeling, be it peace or love, yeah, I want more. I know
you are bringing up so many great points, and you don't know that, but I've been watching you, and your enthusiasm and energy has just been explosive in the last few minutes. I also think that that's probably going to be for multiple interviews and conversations that we could have, because people need to hear that. And one of the things that came up for me was, when we're in the challenge and we're feeling the pain and we're wondering why, sometimes we don't appreciate, but we perhaps, as we develop our consciousness, find the joy in the learning of even the painful moments. And I know when my wife passed away 7 years ago for me, I didn't understand the vacuum in my life that a 30-year relationship gone would be. And it didn't take me that long, but it's taken me a while to figure out how to integrate that into my life. What were the lessons from all that pain? What was the joy that I knew in each moment, and now I have to share with other people because of my experience? Do you want to chat about that?
You know what? I think that you put it so beautifully. I think that's exactly what I was speaking to prior, that, again, when you were speaking about your experience of losing your wife, at that moment of experiencing that pain, we do not know why. We can't even see how that could be of service or value, because our mind is just wanting to stop the experience, right? We get to feeling a level of intensity, be it usually an emotion, or I like to call it a movement of energy inside of our body, that gets really intense. And we just want that intensity to go away. But if people can, come to this realization that, I kind of look at it as that intensity it's just like, it's cleaning out your system. It's cleaning out the pipes inside of you to clear a pathway to experience, greater elevated emotions. It's cleaning out the pipes. Those challenges, those intense moments are cleaning you out, which again is kind of like, and why I like to use the word death or dying is because throughout my experience, it literally feels like I'm dying. When I'm letting go of something, or when I'm experiencing a loss, or a belief is letting go, or there's a pattern inside of me that I've had my whole life and it's starting to like dissolve, it feels like I'm dying. And so when we can get comfortable with that feeling, that process again just becomes easier and easier and easier. And if you can view it from a different perspective, like, oh, I'm just getting cleaned out to experience higher elevated emotions, I'm just going to let this thing do its thing. And then we have less of a tendency to want to stop the experience, which we have a myriad of ways of doing that, right? Be it alcohol, drugs, sex, food, other addictions, work. We just get lost in other things to distract us or take away from that intense feeling. But when we become okay and comfortable just sitting with that feeling and letting it do its thing, and that's the other trickery of the mind. The mind always wants to do something. What do I need to do to stop this, make it go away? It's always looking for a solution. And what it doesn't want to hear is that all you need to do is just sit and be. just be with that feeling, just be with whatever's happening in this moment, you can always, always, always do that. What makes it difficult for people to be in the now, to be in this moment, is that the mind is always pulling them away either to the past and making up a story about the past and what it means, which isn't true, or it's trying to take you into the future and it describes some horrible, scary future of what might happen. But when you start experiencing more and more now moments and you're just right here and you're present, you can always, always be with what's right here. And that's the only thing you were ever asked to be with, is this moment.
Well, being present, of course, is one of the difficult things to do, but one of the most important things to do for consciousness. You were really in the moment when you were holding your father's hand, figuratively or literally, when he was in his last hours and he was passing. And to live in the moment with somebody who's going through that transition is a life-changing and life-enhancing experience. I want to ask you, not a silly question, but kind of an off-the-track question, because we talked a little bit about that. Who was in the room with you, disembodied, when you were going through those last few hours? Please.
Yes, so obviously you mean other people who had passed, or spirits or beings as such. So definitely I felt the presence of both my father's parents, his mom and dad, my mom's mom and dad. I had recently lost a nephew to suicide several months before. He was there. A lot, you know, again, I don't want to sound too airy-fairy, but there was like angelic, very angelic spirits there. When my dad was very, very close, again, it was a struggle for him to actually say words. He was having a hard time breathing, but he was uttering the words. He opened his eyes really bright and he said, "The sky is full of rainbows." So I thought that was really, really beautiful that he just said, I'm going to the rainbows. So very, very intense. He actually, even at one moment said, I see two paths. There's two paths that I can take. Which path am I meant to go on? And I said, I can't tell you that, Dad. You have to make that choice for yourself. But all I ask of you is that you go to the brightest light. You go to wherever there is the most love, the most joy, the most abundance, the brightest light, because, well, I would want that for him to experience that. And I'm also of the belief that if he's experiencing that and I'm a part of his genetics and his DNA and his makeup and all of his family is, that's only going to benefit his family as well, for him to be experiencing, or his spirit to be experiencing this light and this grace. I feel that genetically that's going to be bestowed upon the rest of his family. So again, here on planet Earth, being a physical being, anytime we elevate our emotions, genetically, chemically, hormonally, we are affecting the rest of our family. You know, so of course it's important to do your own work, and you need to be the focus of that and the beneficiary of the work and the inner work that you do. But do not doubt for a moment that any work that you do on yourself, every single family member, anyone in your presence will benefit from those elevated emotions. And to me, that's the greatest service to the world that you can do, is your own inner work. It'll have an impact that you can't even imagine.
We're going in so many wonderful directions, but just stepping back, the support and the love that you experience, either know or saw or felt, for your father had with people that had passed, and the angelic presence that you speak about, what kind of feeling did that give you personally about not only the support for your father, but the support that's there for all of us?
Hmm. Hmm. So in that moment, it was very, very comforting. I think I would have to admit that although it was comforting, I've had this experience before when this tremendous amount of love and support is being, given to you. It's often what we reject the most. It's almost so unfamiliar. We're not used to that. So our physical bodies do need to come into alignment to be able to withstand that type of feeling. So it was almost overwhelming, like it was so much. But to have the realization and the experience that that much love and support and attention is available to you, is being given to you at any given moment. You just haven't tuned into it maybe, or you haven't, experienced it, but it really is there. So it's comforting, it's reassuring, and again, it's like it's another resource. It's another thing available to all of us to tap into, and then again, see where it goes, see what your own experience is. I mean, I'm happy to share my experience, but really in the end it comes down to your own experience, right? It just having that experience for yourself of tapping into that kind of support and what that would mean.
So one of our lessons that's ongoing is our own worthiness, our own self-love and self-esteem, and the realization that we're all really perfect within our own imperfections, and we're all essential part of perhaps the divine spirit. I'm laying my stuff on it, but I was just seemed like it was coming up as you were speaking.
Yeah, I like the phrase perfectly imperfect, and there's this acceptance of we are who we are. We're all expressing and talking and being in a certain way, and I love that you brought this up, because my father, and through my relationship with him, really taught me this. It showed me the perfection of imperfection. We're striving to be perfect. This idea of perfectionism that not one human being ever has or will live up to. This idea of perfection and what we think it means to be perfect. So of course that's going to throw the mind out of kilter. I mean, to try and always be fitting in, it's like always trying to fit this round peg into a square hole, or vice versa, however you say it. but you never fit. So you're never feeling that worthiness. You're never feeling the perfection, the infinite being that you are. You're never experiencing that. And to me, that is sad. That's too bad. And that is what I want to help people experience. When you stop trying to fit in, when you stop worrying about other people's views and opinions of you, because I want the word out on the street to be that when somebody has a view or an opinion of you, that is how they view themselves. They can't possibly see you in any higher of a light than what they see themselves. So you are experiencing a direct reflection of how that person is experiencing their own true nature. So it really never is about you. But coming to terms with the imperfection of the human life, I just see the perfection in it. And then what grows from that is a natural self-love, self-care, self-nurturing that you can't help but want to share with other people and want that for them. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I want to wind this down because there's so many other interviews that are going to come out of this. But this is a very recent loss for you within the last couple of weeks. And I so appreciate the fact that you're willing to come on and share the raw emotion and the raw feeling and the carryover from this experience that you've had, watching and being with your father, knowing and feeling his transition. Are there any last words that you want to share with us, so it pulls it all together? If there's anything that comes to mind, because we've really covered a lot of ground. And Denise, I really want to thank you for the raw sharing that you've provided to us.
Awesome. Well, I do want to say, first of all, thank you, John, for giving me this opportunity and this platform to be able to speak about this experience. That means a lot to me. You're right. We have talked about a lot. I didn't know where this interview was going to go or exactly what was going to be shared, and a lot has been shared. So I don't know if I could really completely summarize the whole entire thing. Obviously, key points is that this experience has completely changed me, and I am passionate. I am excited. It is my desire to bring out into the world whatever this experience is going to allow me to do. And I think that I feel complete in just stopping there and saying, I have no idea what's to come. I don't know what form this book will take or this sharing, but I'm really excited to find out.
Well, thank you again. Thank you for coming on and beginning the process, the raw process of sharing these memories, these feelings, this knowing that you've recently encountered. And I really look forward to the ways that you can find of being of service and sharing even more information with whoever you touch, both physically or through this visual context. I mean, your emotion was spectacular. I really saw you come alive as you were talking, and the passion coming through. And I would ask any of the viewers of this to be open to receiving information or more of your wisdom in the future. And it would be a blessing to see where this project leads you. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. Thanks again. Take care.
I'm going to say goodbye for right now, and we're going to shut the recording off. Thank you.